وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. If there's any questions, we'll take questions, inshallah. And if there's any question about something that I said that was not understood, please ask. Alaykum as-salam.
Would you suggest that we could improve our nafs to basically get our further towards the right path?
Like what age should you start?
No, as in how would you suggest we start improving our nafs?
How old?
How we should start?
Oh, how do you start? Okay, so first of all, we spoke a bit last night, is that one of the most important things that one should do is implement a certain curriculum on your nafs, on yourself, and do not break it, a certain discipline. We gave an example of people that go to the gym. They have a goal that they want to get to, and that's why they're not willing to compromise anything. When the time of the gym comes, they're going to forget everything and just let go of everything. So that's the first thing. Be determined. Have that strength inside you to be very determined that this is what I'm going to do. This is my schedule for now. 2 is that stick to your wajib. Always stick to your wajib. By the way, you don't need to do a lot of extras if you stick to the wajib properly. The first thing that you're supposed to do is your wajib. I'm not saying don't do the extra. The mustahabbat are very important. In fact, they're so good. Why? Because the mustahabbat are almost like the fence around your house, which is the wajib. So do not let go of the mustahabbat, right? But on the other hand, is that stick to the wajib properly. Okay? Your salat time comes, drop everything and pray. Try your best to do everything on time. You wake up for fajr. That's a form of discipline. You fast. That's a form of discipline. So that's one of the things that you should do in order for working on the nafs. Second of all, expand your mind with knowledge. That's very important to understand. Do not be narrow-minded to only one-sided type of knowledge, by the way. Do not think about that. No, expand your mind with knowledge. Learn a lot about the knowledge about yourself. Meaning, how do I improve myself? As I said, we made the connection back to the path of the one whom Allah has blessed. We believe they're Muhammad and al-Muhammad. Learn about them. Understand them. Imama, nubuwa, these are your aqa'id. It is your wajib to learn. You should not wait for someone to come and teach you this. You should not wait for Ramadan and Ashura just so you can sit down and listen to a lecture. Not at all. You have to read. You have to understand. There's a beautiful book. It's called Self-Building. There's another beautiful book by Shaykh that I recommend. It's called Man and Universe. Extremely good book. Very good book. Refer back to the people, the ulama. How did they live? How did they achieve what they have achieved? Purify your nafs. Build a connection with Imam al-Zaman al-Jallah ta'ala Faraj Sharif. And there's 3 things that you can do to build connections with Imam al-Zaman. Number 1, birr al-walidain, honoring your parents. It is very important. Honoring your parents. So that's the first one. The second one, Salatul Layl. Salatul Layl has so much blessing in it that it gets you closer to Imam al-Zaman. The third one, Ziyarat Ashura. So these 3, if you perform and if you stick by there, you're getting closer to Imam al-Zaman Ajjallah ta'ala Farajah Sharif. So these are one of the things that are self-building. Another thing, work on your nafs, not only from the inside but also on the outside, physically. It's important to stay healthy, be healthy. Like, take advantage of the days of your youth. Do not be lazy at all. We said last night, remember in the hadith, it said one of the things that were considered, the first thing that Allah was disobeyed, that were considered a form of disobedience to Allah are 6 traits. One of them is what? We said the love of ease, just taking things all the time easy, being laid back, overly laid back all the time. No. Understand that you should implement a certain schedule to yourself. Do not let yourself go. Do not step into this absolute comfort zone. Employ in the days of your youth. It is very important. Play your sports. Be healthy. Eat healthy. Sleep healthy. That's very important in this regard. Yes?
So what you just touched on was more to do with like improving your nafs. But how would you go about repairing your nafs, if whether it comes to trying to stop bad habits or any haram habits, whether it's drug related or anything else? How would you go about repairing your nafs?
And that's actually a very good question. So one of the things that is mentioned in the narrations is that one of the best things to repair your nafs after, let's say for instance, there was a certain lifestyle of haram, is fasting. They say, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, let that whatever you built in your body as a result of haram be melted by fasting. Right? Number two, action. Being active. By the way, being involved in religious activities is considered a form of repenting to Allah, by the way, just to let you know. And they call it al-istighfar bil-amal. So sometimes you do istighfar, but it is through action. Meaning what? That I would like to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I want to make up for the bad that I did, and therefore I get involved in action. Serve, help in this regard. Do you get the point? Three is that redo what you missed throughout those years and just begin. So for example, if I miss salat, then I should start redoing my salat. If I miss fasting, then I should start redoing my fasting. Four is that prevent myself from anything that might get me involved again with haram. And obviously, for example, if I had a bad crew of friends, then I need to leave them by themselves. I need to step away from them. I need to start all over again. I need to start fresh. Why? Because I'm going to be influenced. Friends are going to influence you, whether you like it or not. Right? Imam Zein al-Abidin alayhi salam says in a hadith about friendship, he said, and do not befriend a person that disobeys Allah. Because this person is willing, Imam Zayn al-Abidin says he's willing to sell you out for a morsel, like a bite of food. Because a person that's only concerned about having pleasure with you, the days of pleasure with you, will certainly desert you. A person that pushes you towards haram is indeed not a good person. Definitely not a good person. And that person will never be there for you. Impossible to be loyal to you. A person that pushes you to disobey your own parents. We've all had this friend that tells you, you know what, let's do this, but just don't tell your parents. That's the first thing, you lie. And take it from me. You lie to your parents, you're going to lie to your spouse. Yeah.
I think just maybe you're referring to, rather than, you're saying to get involved in religious activities, but regardless, in your life you'll have times where you have free time, and that's where those bad habits will then creep back up on you. You always have that temptation.
That's very true.
How would you go about negating that temptation?
Fill up your fill up your time. You see, Imam Ali, I think he says in a narration that an empty mind is a house of the shaitan. An empty mind is a house of the shaitan. He's not having a lot of free time. You know what I mean? Not doing something. No. Get yourself busy in that free time. And if you don't, then do a reflection. Reflect. Imam Ali alayhi salam says in a beautiful narration, reflecting for an hour is worth 1,000 years of worship. So even if you have that free time, reflect. Fill it up with everything, with knowledge. You know, fill it up with your motivation. Play sports, let's say, for instance, in this regard, right? After you've done everything that I just mentioned earlier, right? So it is true, because you're right. Thank you for bringing up this point. Because sometimes free time really pushes you to do something haram, let's say, for instance, right? So it's important to be able to wipe away that demon that was once living inside you. And then that's the thing. Get yourself busy. Be active, and as I said. You know what I mean? Always create something to do. Knowledge doesn't end. Imam Ali says in a beautiful narration, there are two types of people that will never have enough. One who's seeking money and one who's seeking knowledge. One who's seeking money and one who's seeking knowledge. People that are materialistic, they can never have enough. They always want more. And people that are seeking knowledge, they can never have enough. They always want more. They always want to know more. So always get involved in acquiring knowledge, and then trust me, you won't have free time whatsoever. Yeah.
If anyone does have any questions that they would like to ask anonymously, feel free to message either me or Amar, or on the ladies' side, message one of the organizers. Does anyone have questions in the meantime?
It's not exactly to do with the topic we're currently discussing, but do you think the role of I'm going to get a lot of stick for this, but do you think the role of the companions gets overshadowed quite a lot within our own faith?
You mean the Shia madhab? That's a very good question. To be honest with you, what I've been exposed to, I wouldn't say yes, but I do understand that in certain cultures that yes, it does. You know, I think because the thing is that when it comes to our Shia school of thought, I really find that every community has its own way of kind of either commemorating martyrdoms or celebrating wiladat and shahadat and so forth. It could be, and that's why I remember in the month of Muharram, last Muharram, when I was here at your service, I focused a lot on the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And my theory was very simple, is that who do we have amongst us right now? The Imam that is alive amongst us right now. Imam Mahdi, right? Okay, so if I want to be like Imam, if I really want to be with Imam Mahdi, which I should long for it, I should actually do strive to become like with Imam al-Zaman Ajallah Ta'ala al-Sharif, one of the companions of Imam al-Zaman Ajallah Ta'ala al-Sharif, then I need to look back at the traits of the companions of the previous Imams, right or wrong. Because if they were on the level to have the privilege to become the companions of the Imams, then I'm sure that I need to acquire the same traits to become with my Imam. And therefore, it's important to study their lives. So yeah, sometimes that does happen. I agree with you on that. It's like we don't focus a lot on them. But what I've been exposed to is that, alhamdulillah, like I had the pleasure to meet many ulama, that they have dedicated so many, that they're not necessarily very famous, they're not necessarily very popular, but they're gems, honestly. It's astonishing. In fact, the ones with pure knowledge are the ones that are not famous. It's always like that, you know? The ones that you'd really benefit from, as they don't really aspire that. They don't go after popularity. And it's astonishing. Many of them, I learned a lot from them. And they do focus a lot on the lives of the companions.
Sorry, one was just texted in.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you have factors restricting you from improving your nafs? For example, a factor you can't control, like your parents.
It's a very general question. It's kind of vague, to be honest with you. I mean, it depends how, though. It really depends how. It really depends on I don't think there's any type of parents that don't want their children to improve their nafs. Sure, you might face in life parents that are not on a very decent level of religiosity, for instance. But I don't think it would be to the extent where they're not letting you improve your nafs. To be honest, the questionnaire needs to be a bit more specific. Like, what is it? You know, like, I don't know. It could be something, they don't want you to wake up for Fajr, let's say, for instance.
But what about cultural practices that might,
Yeah.
in your opinion, hinder
Yeah.
actual Islamic principles?
That's a very good question, and we all face that in all our communities. We all have cultural backgrounds, and we all have cultural practices that they go against the religion of Islam. It's a very tough battle. I'm not going to deny it. I'm Lebanese, for God's sake. You know, we're notorious for that. We're literally notorious for that. We have beliefs that are unheard of. In fact, like, I don't know, there's people that even thought that there was a very long period of time where many Lebanese people thought that on your wedding night, it is permissible for you to take off your hijab. Only on your wedding nights, but then put it on the next day. But on your wedding night, it is permissible for you to take off your, I guess Allah takes a break on your, I have no idea what it is. But then apparently on your wedding night, it is permissible for you. So I'm just giving an example. But on the other hand though, it's a very tough battle to fight, but you need to do it. And you need to do it in the right way. And you need to show your family that this is not affecting me in the right way. And by the way, sometimes it's good to put your foot down, but do it properly and do it wisely and do it with a certain level of maturity. And when you do it, when they see the results, trust me, they won't ask you again. They'll leave you by yourself. But it is a struggle. Let's focus on the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first person that stood against him was his uncle. Isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, but it is a tough battle. I'm not going to deny. I'm not going to say it's very easy. No, it is a battle. But you know what? Then look at it that way. As we said earlier, there's going to be hardships in life. Then this is going to be your battle to fight. You have to fight it. Islam wants you to be a fighter. Islam actually wants you to be a fighter. Wants you a person who can fight emotionally, physically. A person that knows how to stand their ground. Yeah.
Are there ones in the ladies that need to be, or that want to be asked?
No, not necessarily. If you don't understand it and you can read the letters, yes, you can recite it in Arabic. But if you want to understand it, then of course you're going to have to read the translation. Now, I'll tell you something that my teacher would suggest to converts to do, because many of them obviously didn't speak fluent Arabic, is for them to play a reciter, reciting the Quran in Arabic, and then following up in English. So then you just get the thawab for that. So you can read it in English, and at the same time you're listening to it in Arabic. Yeah.
I had a question about hajat, and it's something that's been on my mind quite a bit. If you
Hajat?
Hajat, yeah.
Hajat, okay, yeah.
Obviously, everyone here has a hajat in their heart that they're trying to get done. If you are someone who constantly asks for hajat, I've heard that like once you do these things and these du'as and stuff, it's like it will be granted to you. Ziyarah, this dua, a dua to Imam Hussein, for example, a hajat is never not accepted. Is the constant asking of your hajat almost becoming disrespectful to Allah because you constantly go again and again and again and again? Or is it just that you are allowed to do that? Because I do wonder sometimes, Allah is listening to me and I'm constantly asking again and again. And what point does it become like, what, you don't believe that I'm going to do it, so you keep asking again and again? Just something that I've been thinking.
That's a very good question, in fact. I did have a topic prepared for this trip about the concept of dua. How do you do it? I know you guys Khojas are notorious with their dua. They love it. You guys have extended versions of Mafatih al-Jinan. Like, I don't know. There's Mafatih al-Jinan, there's like Mafatih al-Jinan Khoja 3D. See, I don't know how, but whatever, that's good. I'm not saying no, it's good, mashallah. But on the other hand though, I did prepare something about around these lines. But I could tell you that yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is listening. You can always ask for anything. You see, it's very important to always speak to Allah as if you literally have a personal relationship with Him. I'll tell you what the difference is. You see, Allah didn't tell us that you have to ask me in the form of the dua that we have from our imams. It's not a condition. You can ask Allah for anything. You can ask Allah with any language, any tone. It doesn't matter. But Allah tells you that the imam comes and puts it in the proper form, in the eloquent form that Allah likes to hear. And if you were to focus on the dua, and by the way, I don't know, does the majority, if I may ask, the majority of your community, do they understand the dua that they're reciting or no? Is it just recited in Arabic, for instance? So it's always recited in Arabic, so you guys don't have like the understanding of what you're reciting? So it's okay. But let's be, let's be realistic. How many times do you look up to the screen and you read the translation? Huh? Yeah, there you go. So basically it's very important to understand. If you were to focus on the dua and read the translation and understand the meaning, you will be astonished. I'll tell you why. You see, as I said, you could say anything you want to your Lord. But when you, for example, dua Abu Hamza Thamali, it's honestly miraculous. It's as if, something that just, I have a hard time personally to digest and understand, is that a dua that was written 1400 years ago. It's as if Imam Zein al-Abidin alayhi salam is living in every time, in every era, and it's as if he's living in every soul of each and every one of us. That he's saying what's going on in your mind, but you're just not knowing how to translate it into words. It's really astonishing. So I really urge you to do that. Even if you just read one part of it, it's more important than finishing the whole dua. Same thing with dua al-Jawshan. Same thing with dua al-Kumail. Understand what it means. Because maybe one paragraph or one phrase from that dua would be sufficient for you. It is so important to know. Subhanallah, you wonder. It's almost like as if the imam is living inside your soul. It's almost as if now he's listening to you. It's almost as if now he's knowing what's going on in your mind. What do you really want to ask Allah for? What is really depressing you? What is really hurting you deep within? So no, refer back to those du'as. Understand the translations of them. It's very important to do that. And I urge you that from next time is that ask from the community. You know what? That we're willing to dedicate for a program that explains to us those du'as. We grew up all our lives reciting those du'as, but we don't know what they mean. Right? Yeah, so that's something important to do.
I think just going off of that, Is it not possible that if you keep asking for a certain dua or a certain hajat and Allah doesn't give it to you, that Allah doesn't want to give it to you because it's more beneficial?
Yeah, of course. That's one of the things. And as I said, I was keeping this point to discuss, but that is true. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not something for you. Maybe it's not like there was a man that came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, can you ask, do dua for rizq, do dua for rizq, do dua for rizq. And the Prophet ﷺ would always delay the dua. And then at the end when he did, long story short, it's a very long narration, but he did, he started having rizq, he started having money. That man used to be referred to as hamamatul masjid. It's an expression in Arabic, the pigeon of the masjid, meaning the one that would always show up the first. He would be the first person that would always show up to salat, to the masjid. He would be one of the first people that would show up to the masjid and sit down to benefit from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Little by little, he started standing in the back lines. And then at the end, he ended up being late. And then after that, he started saying, well, I don't need to do my salat in the masjid. It's okay, right? Then he started skipping salat. And then after that, he disappeared. A year later, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for him. He came. He said, how much is your wealth right now? He told Rasulullah, he told him, well, why haven't you paid your khumus? He said, this is not khumus. This is almost like a tax that you're implementing on us. So he said, now you know why I used to delay the dua for you. So you never know. Who knows? Some people, Allah knows us better, knows that maybe we cannot handle certain things. Or maybe we are in a stage at this moment that we cannot handle such a thing. So that's why Allah delays it. Another point is that maybe Allah likes to hear a person asking. Maybe because you turn back to Allah finally, that Allah is enjoying the fact that you're constantly asking Him because you're in a state of humbleness. You're in an absolute state of humbleness. Yeah. Sure.
How would you suggest people go about if they have parents that discourage practicing Islam, for example, going to classes or going to
That's very hard. If they, so you mean like parents that are Muslim, but they discourage such an act? No, there's a difference. With converts and Muslims, honestly, there's totally different ways of dealing with it. But for example, so if the parents are Muslim, let's say, it's hard because you do want to honor your parents, but the Quran is clear. I think I did speak about that last Muharram. I don't know if I did have a lecture about honoring the parents. But I did mention that the reason is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to the verse referred to the expression as honor and not obedience. It's just simply because if they were to push you to disobey Allah, that you would reject. But you would accompany them. You try your best to keep on talking to them. You keep on fighting your battle. You try your best to convince them with that. You try your best to tell them that, no, this is something important for me. It's important for my growth. Let's say they get to a point where they tell you, absolutely not. Try to involve someone else to speak to them. Maybe they can soften their heart. Someone that can be able to reach out to them. I don't know, a Maulana, a Sheikh, someone that can actually talk some sense to them in this regard. But yes, you're right though. There are people in this situation. I've personally met many of them, you know. But guess what? Many of them did fight the battle. I used to have a friend, believe it or not, that he literally had to hide from his parents to pray. Even though they're Muslim, but they just did not want him to be religious in any form and shape. So and he fought his battle. He kept on fighting his battle, and he did it properly, and he did it in such a smart way, mature way, and mashallah, he did a great job. And right now, they just accept the reality that he's different than them.
I also wanted to ask, you know, from yesterday's lecture, could you just mention any 6 things that you said very beautifully?
Sure, I do have the hadith right here. So it's a beautiful hadith, and it's always good to benefit from it. So the hadith says as follows. The first thing which led to the disobedience of Allah were the following 6 traits. The first one is the love of this temporary world. And the second one is the excessive love of leadership and presidency. It's basically referred to also as popularity, fame. The third one is the excessive love of food. And the fourth one is the excessive love of women. The fifth one is the excessive love of sleep. And the sixth one is the excessive love of ease. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a quick question, going back on what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe in a situation where your hajat isn't necessarily accepted or in front of you, at what point should we go to use istikhara? And also...
Istikhara, sorry, but before you continue, istikhara is for making a decision.
Yeah, so maybe you're stuck in a difficult situation, or you have a decision to make.
Oh no, I understand, but like for example, asking for hajat is different than doing istikhara.
Yeah,
So
I
so
was
for
just
example,
looking for a segue.
I'm sorry.
I was just looking for a segue.
You were?
Looking for a segue to like kind of move
But
into the
how?
question.
How though? Okay, so let me give you an example.
Separate question.
Oh, okay.
In a
okay.
difficult situation.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, yeah.
At what point do we use istikhara? Because I know that for example, Qadr cultures, I know that we should use istikhara in very, very difficult situations. Whereas I know in other communities they use it like quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
Quite frequently.
Oh yeah, I can tell you some people want istikhara even, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. Some people ask for istikhara about something that's very simple. See, at what point you should, let's start with this one. So at what point you should do istikhara? First of all, istikhara is something that you consult. It's a matter that you're consulting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our imams teach us to first do istishara, then istikhara. Meaning what? Now first you consult the people who are experts in the matter. Let's say I want to buy a car. Okay, before I should do an istikhara to buy a car, maybe I should take the car to the mechanic first. Check it out. See if this car checks out, it's good, you know what I mean? And then, if I'm still reluctant, as in I don't know if this is the right time for me to buy it or not, sure, maybe I can do istikhara. But do I have to? No. So it's good that you do resort to istikhara for a very difficult situation. Second thing, istikhara in marriage. I am not for that whatsoever. You know, you don't just meet a person and you do istikhara, should I marry this person, it turns out good, and then you go get married and ends up being the worst thing ever. You know what I mean? You don't do istikhara in marriage. And you don't even wait until the last moment to do istikhara. I got people sometimes that call, they're doing istikhara, and it turns out bad, and they go crazy. Oh, I'm on my way to recite my nikah now. So why did you wait until now to do an istikhara? I don't understand. Okay? So no, get to know the person, understand if this person checks out. Imagine you just meet a person that is absolutely not religious. You don't do istikhara to marry them or not. Because that's the first criteria that you should look for. Person doesn't even pray, doesn't uphold at least some religious values. That doesn't work this way. Did you get it? Yeah, so that's one thing. So istikhara is something. Do you need to resort to it? No. By the way, a lot of people don't know that. Do you really need to resort to it? No. We don't have anything in our Islamic culture or literature that comes and says that, no, you have to resort to istikhara in difficult situations. Still, no. Use your aql sometimes. It's important to do that. Unless it is something that is just a bit confusing. You just want to know? Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I've got another question here which is completely different.
Sure.
It says, is the concept of soul identical to that of the nafs? And if so, how can it be interpreted that every nafs is to taste death, and so aren't souls meant to be eternal?
That's a very, very good question. Whoever asked this question is actually a beautiful question. In fact, no, they're not. So there's something called the nafs and there's something called the ruh, the soul. So they're two different entities. Yes, they're within each other. So the nafs is within the soul. And it's a bit philosophical deeply. I would really refer the questionnaire if they can find the explanation by Sayyid Tabatabai in his Tafsir al-Mizan when he speaks about وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ, and they ask you about the soul. That verse what talks about the Prophet ﷺ, I really refer the questionnaire to read it. It is very important. It is so good. The way he explains it, beautiful. Yeah.
Obviously, if you don't go down the road of istikhara in the end, and you have this persistent hajat that you're trying to accomplish and you're trying to get done, and time on time, however long it's taking, is something you're not willing to give up on.
So meaning continuously doing istikhara about the same thing?
No, not istikhara, as in you don't go down the road of istikhara.
Okay.
Because I, like you, also don't agree with this small thing, I need to do istikhara for it, or this, like married, whatever. So if you're constantly down, when should you like? It sounds bad, but like give up on that hajat. You're like, oh, Allah's just not going to give it to me. So I'm
No, not necessarily. You should never give up on something. But as I said, it's two separate things. Doing an istikhara for a haja is totally different than asking for a haja. You get the point? Istikhara is when you're confused about a matter. Should I do this thing? So basically, istikhara, by the way, let me explain something to you about istikhara. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people call for an istikhara and they say, I want to know if I should or I shouldn't. That's not how istikhara works. Istikhara works is that first you decide. So for example, I want to come and sit on this chair. Okay, I want to decide. At first I should decide. And then I do an istikhara. If it turns out bad, then I don't sit on the chair. If it turns out good, then I sit on the chair. Do you get the point? So istikhara, even the religion of Islam tells you that even if you want to resort to istikhara, you still have to make a decision. You will have to make a decision. The religion of Islam always wants you to be decisive. Do not always fluctuate. In fact, Rasulullah ﷺ says in a beautiful narration, Al-waswas najis hatta yathur, meaning having waswas, always being doubtful. You know, the whispers of the shaitan, always being doubtful about this is considered najis, like forget that. No, decide, have yaqeen, decide on something. Make your decision, and then after that, whatever comes, if let's say yourself, so when you make your decision, you just want to know what to do, even there, when you want to resort to istikhara, you still have to make a decision. That's important to do. Yeah.
Some people ask, if you don't have the best relationship with your parents, how do you strive to improve that?
That's a good thing. So I really think that nowadays there's a gap, whether we like it or not. There is a gap between two different generations, and the challenges are a bit more difficult than before. But I would say is that the first thing, that find a common ground. Find a common ground between you and them. It could be something very simple, and then just sit down and spend time with them. The majority of the times we're treating our homes as hotels. We just go upstairs to the room, we spend all day, and then whenever food time comes, we go down, we eat something, and then we go up again. In many cases, we take our food and we go up again. If you're having this sort of relationship with your parents, you're not going to have a very healthy relationship, right? Because at the end of the day, parents are also reluctant to come and invade your space, right? And this is also an issue that is happening in our communities at this moment. So no, you need to find a common ground. Second of all, you need to create dialogue, and create dialogue in any form and shape. Always try to create dialogue. Always try to speak to them. Third of all, it's very nice sometimes to kind of, let's say for example, if you're having a bad relationship with your father's at work, talk to them, call them, check up on them, see how they're doing. You know, just tell them, I just wanted to talk to you. I just wanted to hear your voice. I just wanted to tell you something. Something happened to me with me in school. You know what I mean? Show them. And by the way, parents, and I know that obviously not a duty, but show them how much you're proud of them. Show them how much you value them in your life. Like you value the fact that they are there. Like show them how much you not only love them by just saying, okay, yeah, nobody hates his own parents, but show them how much they're valuable. It is very important to do so. And as parents, it will soften their heart. It would always want them to refer back to you, always want them to come and please you. Because as much as children love to please their parents, parents also love to please their children. They always want to provide the best of what they have towards their children. That's what I suggest. Yeah. Yes, Hamza.
I don't know, I'm not sure.
What are you? Are you kidding, Hamza?
I'm not sure.
Okay, ask me after.
Okay, so
Privately. Yes.
I think we're going to end it there.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone, for taking part.
You're welcome.
Sheikh, if you just want to end it for us, please.
End it with?
No, end it for us. I
Yeah,
don't know if you have
inshallah.
anything you
Khair.
wanna add
Well, it's
before we
always a
end it, so-
pleasure, and thank you so much for showing up tonight. And inshallah, hopefully we'll have another one tomorrow. And then, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ya Ali.
ومحمد وآل محمد صلوات.
Allahumma salli ala
So
if I
then,
go down,
yeah. So now if I go down or somewhere here, this is fine.
okay,
Yeah. If I
even lower.
or somewhere where
Yeah.
this is on,
Yeah.
then it'll interfere. Yeah. So maybe it was on the wrong thing anyway.
Yeah, okay. Right, no problem. Okay,
No, put it on off because I haven't got my glasses yet.
that's